Discover them for yourself and listen to the ancient voices of the Celts that can still speak to us today. A note on the readings. The passages and stories that follow were written over the course of many centuries. The earliest were recorded by sometimes hostile Greeks and Romans, observing the Celts from the outside and writing about them in Greek or Latin. But most come from Celtic authors themselves, writing about their own lives and traditions in Gaulish, Latin, Irish, or Welsh. I've translated some of them word for word from the original languages, but many are paraphrases or retellings based closely on the native sources and condensed for brevity's sake. In all of them, I've tried to preserve the style, flavour, and wonder of the original tales. The gods and goddesses of the ancient Celts. Only scattered fragments remain of the rich and complex religious traditions of the early Celtic tribes. Archaeology is telling us more each year about the physical remains of Celtic religion, but we are still forced to rely mostly on second-hand observations by Greek and Roman authors, who were often hostile to the Celts, and who usually substituted the names of their own Greek and Roman gods for native Celtic names. But if we do our best to see beyond the bias of these classical writers, we can glimpse a fascinating world of countless gods and goddesses who inhabited and illuminated every corner of ancient Celtic life. The most important god of the Gauls is Mercury. There are images of him throughout the land. He is said to be the inventor of all human arts, the guide for every path and journey, and the god in charge of trade and commerce. After Mercury, the most important gods are Apollo, Mars, Jupiter, and Minerva. These gods are in charge of the same areas of life as among other peoples. Apollo cures diseases, Minerva oversees crafts, Jupiter rules the skies, and Mars is the god of war. Before a great battle, the Gauls will often dedicate the spoils of the enemy to Mars. If they win, they sacrifice all the animals they capture to the god, and collect the other captured goods in a single place among their tribe. You may often see these objects piled up in a sacred spot among whatever tribe you visit. It is most rare that anyone will dare to disturb these spoils or steal from them. If someone does, they are tortured and punished in the most horrible ways imaginable. The gods of darkness. As with many spiritual traditions from around the world, ancient Celtic religion acknowledged a dark side to balance the light. This aspect of Celtic beliefs was emphasized by many Greeks and Romans who wanted to portray the Celts as savages, but to deny its existence altogether is equally dishonest. As the Romans themselves honored their own gods of the underworld, the ancient Celts acknowledged the necessary shadows of life, going so far as to place their own origins in a world of darkness. The Gauls all say that they are descended from a common father, Dis, the god of the dark underworld. The Druids confirm this in their teachings. Because of this belief, they measure time by the passing of nights, not days. Birthdays and the beginnings of months and years all start at night. The twin gods of the sea. One of the earliest stories we have of Celtic gods come from a fragment of a Greek historian named Timaeus, who lived in Sicily in the early 3rd century BCE, just after the time of Alexander the Great. The work of Timaeus itself does not survive, but pieces of it were preserved in later authors. In his history, written for a Greek audience, he tells of a Celtic myth about twin gods who came to Celts from the sea, probably to the wild shores of the Atlantic Ocean in Gaul. Like most Greek and Roman authors, he substitutes familiar gods and names from Greek mythology, such as the twins Castor and Pollux, known as the Dioscuri, sons of Zeus. Behind this short fragment must lie a rich and fascinating Celtic myth, but it is lost to us forever. Historians of old tell of the Celts who lived on the shore of the ocean who honoured the Dioscuri above all of their gods. There is an ancient tradition among them that these two gods came to them from the sea. Ancient Gaulish animal magic. The world of nature was always important in Celtic religious beliefs, and animals were celebrated prominently in Celtic myths and religious practices from the earliest times.